Welcome to another book haul. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I am doing a book haul. It's been 2 months since I filmed a book haul, and in those 2 months, it wasn't like I stopped buying books. It was just mostly because I got bored filming book hauls and I wanted to try something new and I wanted to make new videos. But I put out a poll on my community channel this past week and I asked you guys if you guys wanted to see a book haul first, or if you guys wanted to know my thoughts on recent romantic suspense reads, or know my thoughts on recent like light and fluffy contemporary romance reads. And you guys said that you guys wanted to see a book haul. So this is a new setting for everyone right now because I am outside in my hallway in front of my bedroom. I recently got new shelves so that my books were not kind of just like piling on the floor. I have an organizational system, and I think I'm gonna give some shots of the shelves and what I have on the shelves in like the last bit of the video. But for now, I'm gonna go walk through some of the titles that I'm really excited to show you. These books are books that I purchased myself, but I do have some books that publishers have sent me, and these are all like new releases from this year too as well. So the first book that I do want to show you is this gorgeous book called Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley. And now this one has a fake dating trope. It involves our heroine who is a baker and she wants to lick her wounds, but then afterwards she is kind of tossed up into this relationship with a professional football player because somebody mistakes them as like a couple, and then they think that if they both work together and pretend that they're in a relationship, they can win this like fake dating baking competition. So I think it's going to be really super fun and super interesting too as well. Sometimes I don't like fake dating tropes, but I'm willing to give it a chance. Okay, so the next book that I did pick up is this gorgeous book called American Royalty by Tracy Livesey, and I think that this one is going to be really fun. This one is a royal romance, as you can tell by the cover and also the title. Essentially, our female heroine is a rapper and she is like a big hip-hop star. She's very popular, but then she needs to kind of rebuild her brand and rebuild her image. And then our hero is actually a reclusive royal, and he is tasked to throw like this concert in his home country, and he decides to hire our heroine as like the main act, and then afterwards they kind of fall in love. So I think this one's going to be really interesting. I've seen really great reviews of this already on Goodreads, so I'm totally excited to read this one. So the next book that I want to show you guys is this one called Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare. Now this one is a witchy romance novel that has been released in the springtime, but I feel like it's kind of weird because they should probably release this in the fall. I read this already and I really enjoyed it. This one involves our heroine who is hired as an assistant. She thinks that she is just an assistant to this crazy bat woman, but then it turns out that she is an assistant to a old witch, and then she has to deal with her very grumpy nephew who is our hero, and our hero is actually a warlock, and she discovers that there is literally a whole world of magic, and now she is tied up into like the schemes of everybody in that really twisted world. I thought it was super fun, super cozy, and also super romantic as well. So the next book that I picked up is this one that is trending currently on Book Talk and maybe BookTube as well. A lot of popular booktubers are talking about it. This one is called Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman, and now this one involves a celebrity and a reporter. They both basically had a past where she interviewed him for an interview and then it blew up. He got super popular over it and things like that, and then she kind of became a very credible writer because of it. And then now in present time she is reunited with the celebrity, and then this is their romance. I don't know if we can consider it a second chance romance because they never dated in the first place, but it talks about in 2 different timelines from now and then. Okay, so the next book that I picked up is this one called A Perfect Equation by Elizabeth Everett. This one is a historical romance, and I've read book number 1 in this series called The Secret Scientists of London, and I thought it was really fun. It was really interesting. It basically involves a lot of women who are in STEM, and it's really interesting to see in a historical romance setting because, you know, like women didn't have a lot of rights back then, but then now our women are courageous and they're really hardworking and they're really brilliant and really smart. So basically our heroine has made a mistake in society's eyes, and now she is trying to rebuild her image. She is going to try to take care of the retreat that is taking place for the secret haven for England's women scientists, and she has to work with our hero, and our hero has his own goals and motivations too as well, because he wants to have control over something and then they have to work together on it. Honestly, the synopsis doesn't really tell me much, but I am interested in reading this one because I really like the first one. Next book that I want to talk about is this one called If You Ask Me by Libby Hubshire. And now I think I've read Libby before. I don't know which book did she write because I get kind of confused. Meet Me in Paradise. And I think I enjoyed that one. I think I at least gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. So I decided to pick up a new one. This one involves our heroine who is an advice columnist, and she figures out from her advice column, ironically, that her husband has been cheating on her. So basically she is really livid, so she decides to burn all her husband's things on the front lawn of her house, and then a hot firefighter shows up, and then that's how she meets our hero. So I think this one's going to be really fun. But quick warning is that I picked up the audiobook of this and I had to return it because I wasn't in the mood to start this book because it talked about grief, or the trigger warning was grief, and at that time I didn't want something so heavy. So hopefully I get to feel in the mood to read this very soon. And then the next book that I have is this one called Reputation by Lex Crosher. Now this one is described to me as Bridgerton meets Gossip Girl. So it involves our heroine who meets a woman who is very popular and her group of friends, and then they fall in love with each other, not like female romance, but like they just have a really strong bond and a strong relationship and friendship. They are just having fun and just causing a lot of trouble and just kind of like down with the patriarchy kind of situation. But then our heroine ends up falling for a guy, and then I think the friends might get in the way, not too sure. So the next book that I have to talk about is this one called Four Aunties and a Wedding by Jessie Q Satanto, and this is the follow-up book for Dill, A for Aunties. Now I read Dill, A for Aunties, which is kind of like a murder mystery romance, and I thought it was fun, but it wasn't definitely my favorite. But I wanted to pick up another book by Jessie just because. So this one involves our main heroine from Dill, A for Aunties, so you're gonna have to read that one first. It's her wedding, and she is going to throw this really big Asian wedding, but then what happens is that she overhears like the person who's in charge of the wedding photography talking about possibly making a hit on someone or having a hit on someone. So then now it becomes like this other like thriller romance plot line where our heroine is trying to stop someone from killing another person. Another book that I did pick up is this one called Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. Lots of people have already talked about it already. Lots of people have read it already. Everybody loved it. I didn't read it yet, my bad. But this one involves our heroine who has a really great attachment to her family home, mostly because she is still dealing with the grief of losing her mother. Her father wants to sell the house. She doesn't have enough money to buy the house off of him, or she does have enough, but it's not like incentivized to sell the house to the daughter because he could make more money by selling the house on the open market. But anyways, so she decides that she's going to make a deal with her father. She's going to get married in 4 months, and then if she can get married, then that means that she can have the house. Everything is going well until she has like an argument with our hero, who is the host of the Dr. Dill show, and they went viral, and then it's kind of like going against our hero because now our hero may not secure funding for his own projects. So then now he's going to try to convince her that they should form a relationship to benefit each other. So maybe there's fake dating in this one, not too sure, but everybody really enjoyed it. So the next book that I did pick up is this one called K-pop Revolution by Stephen Lee, and now this one involves our heroine Candace from the first book called K-pop Confidential. So unfortunately you do have to read number 1 in order to pick up number 2. It essentially follows the plot line from book 1, where she basically said a lot of stuff that shook up the whole K-pop industry, and like lots of people are getting burned by it, and then she's kind of like rising from the ashes because everybody's looking at her like she is the role model and face of K-pop. So she might have given up her opportunity to debut, but she is given another opportunity to debut with another bunch of girls, and then it's there where she kind of like regains confidence in herself, falls in love with K-pop again, and tries to build her K-pop career while also trying to have a relationship. So it was really heavy a lot of the times because it does deal with the dark side of K-pop, and then it was also like a little bit heavier on the family issues side too as well, and the relationship side. I still really enjoyed it, and I definitely would recommend you to pick this up if you guys like K-pop. So if you guys are looking for another fall read in the middle of the summer, this one is for you. This one's called From Bad to Cursed by Lena Harper, and she is the author of Payback's a Witch. And if I remember correctly, I think I liked Payback's a Witch. I think I really enjoyed the writing style, so I am excited to read this one. This one involves our heroine, who is a thrill chaser. She is a demon summoner, but despite all that, she is a cuddly animal lover, and she loves fashion. She's designing costumes, she's having fun, but she is also harboring a secret, and the secret is that she wants to leave her family business. But then somebody's sabotaging like the celebrations for this like annual festival, and she needs to get to the bottom of this. So there is like a mystery element to it, and she has to work with our hero, who is an investigator. And I think it's kind of like a love-hate relationship, like where they both are tolerating each other, but then they don't really like each other that much. Obviously they do fall in love. I cannot wait to read this one, but I don't know when, because right now I'm still in the summery mood. The next book that I have is this one called The Stand-In by Lily Chu. Now, I had the opportunity to listen to the audiobook of this one already, but this one has finally come out in print. This one involves our heroine, who is just kind of like a nobody. She's American Chinese, I believe, and then she flies to Taiwan, I think, or she flew to China. I don't know where she flew to, but everybody thinks that she is the celebrity that is currently dominating the markets there. And then so the publicity team actually hires her as like the stand-in so that the real actress can do her own thing and like, you know, have a life. So she's getting paid a lot of money to pretend to be a celebrity, and then she ends up falling in love with a actor, and it was really fun. I thought it was really interesting, and obviously loved the Asian representation. The next book that I have is this one called Sadie on a Plate by Amanda Elliott. Now, this one I've heard really bad things about from my friend Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers. Basically, she said that there wasn't that much romance in it anyways, and it might be women's fiction, which could be good as long as I know that it's pivoted towards women's fiction. I don't like women's fiction but disguised as romance. So this one involves our heroine, who is a chef, and she loves to make really mouth-watering takes on traditional Jewish recipes. I haven't read too many books featuring a heroine who is Jewish, so I think this will be really interesting to read about. And basically, she has a public breakup with her boss, but then she falls in love with her seatmate on her plane ride back to New York. So I don't know where this is going to take me, if it's not going to be romantic themed, but hopefully it'll still be enjoyable. So the next book that I got was from the publisher themselves. This one's called Starry Eyed Love by Helena Hunting. Now, me and Helena Hunting have a love-hate relationship. Some of her books I really enjoyed, but some of her books I just didn't work out for me. I also want to note that this copy that I got was unfortunately like really damaged because somebody somewhere in Canada broke into a post office and slashed all the packages and basically tried to steal things from the packages, anything that was worth any money. And then when they saw that I just got a book, they left it, but with damages. Anyways, this involves our heroine who just recently got out of a relationship, and she's celebrating her single status at a bar, and a guy approaches her, and then she turns him away, turns him down, whatever. But she needs to run her family business, and then she has an opportunity to partner up with this multi-million-dollar company, and then in walks the CEO, who just so happens to be the guy that she turned down. So now it's like this whole messy situation. I don't know when I'll have the chance to read it, but I think my friend really enjoyed this book already, so I think I'm gonna move it up on my TBR list if I do see the audiobook available at my library. Okay, so the next book that I have here is this one that I've been seeing around on Instagram, and I think it's just Instagram for now, but this one caught my eye because the cover is very interesting. This one's called Lessons in Chemistry, and I think that this one is going to be really funny because everybody's reviews of it was like laugh out loud funny, and how the audiobook was just so entertaining. Basically, it involves our heroine who is in STEM, and it's in the 1960s, so everybody's kind of like a misogynist, and then she has to kind of go like you know, stand up for herself, be a feminist. She falls in love with her colleague. Years later, she is a single mother, so she has to deal with like taking care of her children. And then she is no longer in STEM, but she is like the host of a cooking show, and she is like really good at it, and she has this like interesting take on it because she uses science and chemistry to cook her meals. So everybody's really interested in that. But then now she starts realizing that it's not just a simple cooking show, and that she can use this cooking show to change the way that people think about themselves and how people think about women in society in general. So the next book that I have to show you is this one called The Wedding Season by Katie Burchill. Now, she was the author of The Secret Bridesmaid, which is a women's fiction novel that I did read last year. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, so I kind of wanted to pick up this book. I think this one's also a women's fiction novel too as well. So this one involves our heroine who unfortunately gets dumped like literally like the day of her wedding, I think. And then in order to distract her from the heartbreak and the messy situation, her friends have challenges for her for every single wedding that she has to attend in the summer, and it's like all used to devise a plan so that she can kind of grow comfortable with herself and grow into her own new person who is single. So I think it'll be interesting. I really like the cover though, it's really pretty. So speaking of more women's fiction novels, I have this one called Adult Assembly Required by Abby Waxman, and I adore Abby Waxman. I think that some of her books are really good, but there was like one book that I didn't really like. But this one involves our heroine who is just trying to escape her overprotective family. She moves to a really small town that takes place in the bookish life of Nina Hill, which is a separate book from Abby Waxman. So I think you need to read those books in order to be fully absorbed into this neighborhood of like people who are going to show up in the book, and to really absorb that environment and to be in that like world setting. Anyways, so she is going to rediscover herself and try to be an adult, but what happens is that she has a gorgeous housemate, a persistent ex-boyfriend, and a trivia team that needs saving. And then it's kind of like she has her hands full, and then she just has like a bunch of people supporting her and helping her grow along the way. So I think this one's going to be really cute. I saw reviews of this on Goodreads. Everybody loved it. The next book I have is this one called Set on You by Amy Lay, and now she is actually a bookstagrammer, and then she got signed on a couple of book deals with Berkeley Romance. I'm so excited for her. She's a Canadian author, and I really like her bookstagram and everything, so I was really excited to pick up this book to support her. And so far I think this book is garnering a lot of attention, so really happy for Amy. But this one involves a curvy fitness influencer, and she is going to work out, but then some guy steps into her gym and steals her favorite squat rack, and then now they're getting ultra competitive in the gym. And I've heard that the guy is inspired by Chris Evans, and I think that's all I need to hear. But anyways, so they have a wedding that they need to attend, or that she needs to attend, and I think she's going to ask him to be her fake date, and I think that's the romance. Some of my friends have already read this book and they really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to pick this up. Okay, so the next book that I did pick up is this one called The Dutch Hound Wears Prada by Stephanie London, and I freaking love the cover. I thought it's so cute. I have a giant ugly ass 30% off sticker here, but we're going to remove it later. But it involves a social media consultant who basically ruined her whole career, and it's like cancel culture. She ruins a young Scarlett's career, so then she's canceled herself, but then she has no time for like Instagram's toxic culture to like forget about her so that she can rebrand herself, because she needs to pay the bills and she needs to make sure that her sister is being cared for. So she decides to dog sit, and she is using the dog sitting as like a job to supplement her as she waits for her career to rebuild. And she starts to realize that the owner of the dog might be actually really cute and might actually be someone that she can fall in love with. So I think it's going to be really cute. Stephanie London is also another Canadian author. She's like based out of Toronto too as well. So I'm excited to read her books. I think she's fabulous at writing, so go pick up a copy if you haven't already. The next book that I got is this one called The Emma Project by Sonali Dev, and now this one was sent to me from the publisher. I freaking love Sonali Dev. I think her books are fabulous. They are Jane Austen retellings. Obviously this one is a Emma retelling. Emma Theemma is one of my favorite Jane Austen novels. I'm excited to read this one. Okay, so the next book that I have here is called Lockdown on London Lane by Beth Reekles, and now this book was sent to me from the publisher themselves, and she is the author of The Kissing Booth. But basically this book involves several couples dealing with their own issues and their own problems, so I'm really excited to read this one. I think that it's always interesting when you kind of have like a whole cast of characters. I was also sent this book with like a bunch of publicity items too as well, so it was super fun opening this package. So the next book that I have here is this one called West Side Love Story by Priscilla Oliveros, and this one involves two rival families who are competing against each other for the best mariachi band. Damn, I just can't pronounce words today. And basically they are going to try to win the competition for money so that they can help with their own financial crisis. And I think what happens is that obviously our heroine and hero are from opposite sides and they fall in love. So the next book that I have here is this one called Fiona and the Ignomatic Earl by Grace Calloway. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that title wrong, but please forgive me. I don't know what's wrong with me today, but essentially this one is a historical romance for her series called Lady Charlotte's Society of Angels. If you guys are into books with heroines that are solving mystery, who are really getting themselves into danger, and then our hero kind of trying to rein her in and try to help her with solving these mysteries, then you're definitely going to love this series. I also have this one called Pippa and the Prince of Secrets that I hauled like a year ago, and I'm so excited to continue reading this series because I read book number 1 and I really did enjoy it, so definitely go check it out. The next book that I have here is called The Love Proof by Madeline Henry. Now Madeline Henry actually wrote this like financial book that I read that I really liked. So Madeline Henry used to be a investment banker, I think, and she wrote this book called Breathe In, Cash Out, and I really enjoyed that book where she talked a lot about her experiences as an investment banker but through a fictional story. So I wanted to see what other books that Madeline write, and this was one of them. This one essentially follows a second chance romance between our hero and heroine who fell in love with each other in their first week of Yale, but then something happens that is tragic and that separates them, and now our heroine is turning back into the world of physics to try to prove that love truly exists and that true love exists as well. So the next book that I have here is this one called Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert, and now this was sent to me from the publisher themselves. This one involves our hero and hero who are already in a committed relationship and they want to dominate the world. So then now our hero and hero enter themselves into this fierce competition to take on this new role. I think it's like for Aries, because I remember like somebody died and then like now they want that role. So they are both competing each other, but if one of them wins, they both win because they're a couple. And then what happens is that Helen is our heroine who kind of steps in and interferes with their plan, and then all three of them fall in love. Now I didn't really like this book. I thought that it was just not for me. It had a cheating trope in it that I just couldn't stomach, and I just didn't even like our heroine at all, and I thought our hero, one of them, was very insecure. So I still really like Katie Roberts' series, and I'm excited to read her next novel that's going to be coming out next year. I know I'm really late on the trend, but I have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I know everybody probably already read it already, but I didn't read it yet. I'm holding on to it because I just don't want to say goodbye to Emily Henry novels. I have a really bad tendency to not read my most hyped books, but lots of my friends really like this one, and I think it deals with book lovers. I don't want to read the synopsis because I think it just takes the enjoyment out of the books sometimes. So the next book that I did pick up is this one from Abby Jimenez called Part of Your World. I think a lot of my friends really enjoyed this book. I have like hit or misses with Abby sometimes. I like some of her books, but then sometimes I don't think that she handles the issues that she talks about in the books well. So I kind of have that icky relationship, but this one is something that all my friends really enjoyed. This one talks about our heroine who is an ER doctor. She is from like a city girl status, and then she has to move to a tight-knit town, so it's a small town romance, and she needs help with rebuilding the house that she lives in. So she hires our hero, who is a very hot carpenter who's also 10 years younger than she is. So this is an age gap romance. So excited to pick this one up because everybody's been talking about it. So the next book that I have is this one called Lease on Love by Fallon Ballard, and everybody has loved this book already, so I'm excited to read this one. This one involves our heroine who is being passed up for promotion, and then now she needs a new place to live because I think she was kind of depending on the promotion for her to live in the current place that she lives. And then a mix-up happens, so she has to share a place with our hero, and she herself is not looking for a relationship. Our hero himself is not looking for a relationship either, because he's still grieving over the unexpected death of his parents. And so he's just kind of like really down the dumps. He's only playing video games a lot, and he's only doing a lot of movie marathons. So they're complete opposites, but because they're living with each other, I think there's like forced proximity that makes them fall in love with each other. So I'm excited to read it. Okay, so the next book that I have, or I think the last book I'm going to show you guys in this book haul, I still have like a lot of books to show you guys. I'm just gonna cut it short from here, but this one is called Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, and everybody has already read this book yet. I just picked it up because it's Colleen. I love Colleen's writing. I think it's so angsty and so immersive. Like, you just immerse yourself into the world of her writing as soon as you start her book. Obviously it's very emotional, and I'm going to have to be very emotionally stable to read her books, because I think I'll just end up sobbing somewhere outside in public, and we don't want that. So as promised, this is just an overshot of my new hallway setup. So I have 3 little bookshelves here, and now they're all filled with books that I've bought recently that I have still yet to show you guys, and also romance novels that I have wanting to read, and I was just in my room on the floor and it was just kind of bothering me, so I just kind of reshelved everything. But here's just a quick overview of all the books I have. Yes, I have finance novels. We're kind of in a vlog style now, but anyways, that is it for all the books I want to show you for this book haul. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys again next time in a new video. Bye.